Hi guys, this is me and welcome back to my channel Storytale. Today I'm going to be talking about Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. I have finally finished it. It was the last installment in the last R series. There were already two other books, Chain of Gold and Chain of Irons. I have already reviewed both of the books and I'm going to give the link in the description down below. If you want, you can check it out. This is going to be a spoiler filled review. I do want to talk a little bit of spoilers. So if you have not read this book, you can skip this one. I was really impressed with the first installment, which was Chain of Gold. It was a very good experience for me. I really fell in love with all the characters. I really loved the whole premise and everything. But the second book, Chain of Iron, was a big disappointment for me. Whatever I wanted the characters to do, they did not. Especially when it comes to Matthew, I've always been disappointed, and that actually does not change with the third book too. Let me give you a little bit of the summary of the whole series. The series is about 6 to 7 shadow hunters, and all of them live in London. It's around, I think it's based around 1900s or even before that. The London is very beautiful at that time, and even their dresses and everything. Our main characters here are Cordelia, James, Matthew, Anna, Alistair, Thomas, even Christopher, Grace, and there are many other characters too. This is one of the latest series of Cassandra Clare. She has of course wrote many other books on Shadowhunters, so this is not something very much new. If you have read other Shadowhunter books, this book is not going to be that much difficult for you to understand. But if you have not, it may be a little bit problematic because you may not understand certain things or certain chapters or certain plot, as the series is very heavy on the characters. Of course, it is not able to justify all the characters and their arc. I'm very much disappointed with many things in this book. From the last two series, we have seen Cordelia and James struggle with their feelings. They both love each other, but they are not able to express it. James, he was in magic spell of grace, and that is kind of created a drift between Cordelia and James. And in the last book, we saw the spell of grace broken, but it was kind of too late for James because Cordelia already saw him with Grace and then she ran away with Matthew. Matthew is also in love with Cordelia. He is not that much aware that James is also in love with Cordelia. He thinks that James is in love with Grace, so he actually fell for Cordelia because she is such an amazing person. Cordelia always has feelings for James, and Matthew she always thinks of as a friend. But of course, in the last book and even in this book, we get a little bit of romantic scenes between Matthew and Cordelia, so it gets a little bit confusing. And I know that Cassandra Clare is actually obsessed with love triangles, so of course she had to put one in this one too. She always goes for love triangles, and this one felt a little bit forced, especially the romantic scenes. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Cordelia in the last book became a paladin of Lilith. She was tricked into it, and after that she is very afraid to take out her katana because it can be very dangerous for her, for people she loves, and the world too. Alistair and Thomas both love each other. They are still struggling a little bit with their feelings. They are not able to communicate so well, even though they have kind of confessed that both of them like each other, but still there is a lot of distance between them. There's also Anna and Ariadne, which we do not actually get much in this book. I mean, they are in the last chapters, but in the beginning of the book they are actually non-existent. There's also Christopher, who has this blooming romance with Grace, and Grace, after realizing what she has done to James, she is regretting everything, and she is trying to punish herself by going to the Silent Brothers. That is where all the story start and begins, and that is where our characters were left off in the last two books, and with this book their journey continues. Let's talk first about James and Cordelia. I really had no idea what was actually happening between them. I mean, both of them are so bad at communication. It's like they cannot even talk to each other. It's so infuriating because James, he knows everything. He can clear every single thing. All he has to do was go to Cordelia and tell her that he was under the influence of Grace. Whatever he did or whatever feelings he thought he had was not actually true. It was all a spell. It would have been that so simple. But no. We had to stretch it out as long as possible, even though when he's seeing that Cordelia is kind of leaning towards Matthew, I mean, he actually kind of caught them while doing the act. I think that was one of the highlight of the book, to be honest. I really loved that whole scene. That is my favorite. After whatever happened between them and everything, I think it was one of my favorite scenes. That whole Paris thing was actually kind of nice. I really liked it. But anyway, it was so difficult for him to tell Cordelia what actually happened. I did not understand his reason at all. Whatever reason he gave, that he was very embarrassed and everything, that was just all bullshit, to be honest. I think we just wanted to stretch the story a little bit longer, and that is why we just did what we did. Now let's talk about Cordelia. Cordelia is one of the characters I actually like and enjoy, but again she's very indecisive when it comes to Matthew and when it comes to James. When she did not have James, she was leaning towards Matthew. I think that was a very shitty move, to be honest, and Matthew was actually in really love with her, but she was actually using him as a rebound. She cannot have James, so that is why she was leaning towards Matthew, and when she had James, she kind of left him alone. So this was kind of, I do not know, I just always felt bad for Matthew whatever happened between them, but I did enjoy the friendship between Cordelia and Matthew. I think that is one of the most beautiful thing in this book. I really enjoyed their friendship because it was so pure. I loved their friendship more than I loved friendship between James and Matthew, to be honest. Also, I really love the fact that she's a badass. Like, she is someone who actually saves people. She's not someone who needs saving. She's a very good fighter and she's a very good person and everything. So I really like her as a character. But her arc, not that much. I mean, she kind of ended up with James and everything. So I do not know. It was predictable, of course. From the first book, I knew that she's gonna end up with James. But I do not know. It needed to be something different. Their love story, James and Cordelia, is very boring. To be honest, she had much passion and fire when it was with Matthew. But with James, it was like a very vanilla kind of romance. So I did not enjoy it that much. And James is also a very vanilla character, to be honest. He does not have great personality. The only thing great about him is that he's kind and he's, I do not know, brave a little bit, but other than that I did not see him any different from any other characters that I've actually read in other books. There was nothing unique about him, there was nothing tortured about him, there was actually nothing about him. He was very dull character. And Cordelia, on the other hand, could have been a great character, but then she ended up with James and her whole dynamic with James, it was like it made her dull. So for me, that was again a disappointment. Matthew, my baby, he did not get any happy ending. I mean, he did reconcile with his parents and everything. He told this secret and he was, of course, struggling with alcohol. So he did get a little bit better, but still I wanted his character to end up a little bit better. The story, I mean, Matthew as a character, I mean, he was bisexual, to be honest, and there was so much that could have been done. Even if the love story with him and Cordelia could not happen, we could have gotten someone else. We could have had something really good with Matthew. He was such a charismatic character. He was such an open character. I really admired his character, and Cassandra Clare kind of, wasted him, to be honest. He did not get anything good. The only thing he got was with his parents, and he came out with the truth and everything. But it just felt like Cassandra Clare did not know what to do with Matthew. She did not know how to actually take his journey or what to do with him. So that is why she just did the predictable thing and everything. I'm really disappointed with how Matthew actually turned out. I really had really high hopes when it came to Matthew, but it was really disappointing. Next couple, Anna and Ariadne. They did not have any scenes at the beginning of the book. Like, they did not have any romance. What was actually happening between them, I do not know. I know that Ariadne went to live with Anna, but after that, even though they had differences and we could have dealt with that, nothing actually happened between them. But in the end, both of them reconciled whatever problem they had. They did not have much problem, to be honest. They reconciled and they ended up together and everything. Ariadne came out to her parents, and that is all. There was nothing actually great about their love story. It ended again in a very disappointing manner. The battle scenes and whatever happened between Anna and Ariadne in those moments, I think that was the only part that I liked about them in this whole series or in this whole book, to be honest. Cassandra did not actually know what to do with Anna and Ariadne, to be honest. She just kept them in this series to have more characters, I guess, but they were again not justified. Both of them, they were let down. Now, one of the couples that I was really looking forward to, Alistair and Thomas, both of them kind of I thought were actually in a relationship in the second book. So I did not understand what happened in the third book. Why were they so distant, and why was there a communication gap between them? Why were they not communicating their feelings more? I just do not understand their whole relationship. I did not understand. They were such a great couple in the second book and even in the first book, but in third book, what actually happened to them, I do not understand. There was just few misunderstanding. There was just long looks and everything, and that is all in the book. There was like no sparks, no nothing, no very great scenes, very romantic scenes, nothing. There was nothing. So I do not know what happened. There was no beautiful chapter like the Paris chapter which we got, I think, in second book or maybe first, I do not remember. But it was such a beautiful chapter, and we did not get any of that scene in this whole book. Not between them, not actually in between any of them. Now the last couple, which I was actually very much looking forward to, and which was again a heartbreaking disappointment. Grace and Christopher. I was actually looking forward to both of them, have this beautiful relationship, both of them doing this science stuff and everything. So I was really looking forward to their relationship. I think that was one of the most innocent relationship there it is. There was no great misunderstanding. There was not great of, oh, let's hide these feelings and everything, let's not communicate at all. Both of them did communicate with their eyes, whatever. Both of them cared about each other, so I really liked that. Christopher was a gentle soul. He does not go into this misunderstandings and everything. Even though he knew everything about Grace, still he did not think bad of her. He always supported her and everything. And him to die, was there a death required in this book? And even if, I would have loved much better if Anna and Ariadne as a couple died in the battle. That would have been more poetic. But Christopher to die out of nowhere, it just did not make sense to me. It was just, I do not know, it was not even tragic, to be honest, because it was just plain, I do not know, stupid. Because Christopher, there was so much they could have done with Christopher. I really loved this whole scene in the cave with Grace and all that fire messages and everything. That was a nice scene. But again, other than that, there was nothing great. Means they have just wasted a very beautiful relationship between Grace and Christopher. But we got a very dull relationship between Cordelia and James. So this whole book, the third book, I knew when I first started reading that I'm going to be disappointed, because I was very much disappointed with the second book. I was in love with the first one, but the second, it was a big disappointment. I do not know how many times I've said disappointment in this book, because I cannot explain how much disappointed I was, and that is after knowing that I'm going to be disappointed. So that is a disappointment to another level. I actually forgot to talk about another couple, another two main characters. There are just so many characters in this book that I do forget sometimes, so pardon me for that. So let's talk about Lucy and Jessie. Jessie did have many scenes in this one. Lucy too have many scenes, but as much as I've loved Lucy in the first book, I did not actually like her in the second and third. In the first book, she was more chirpy, more positive and everything, but in the second, third book, she became more dark. And I do not mind being dark, but it was like dark but not in a good way. She was not chirpy anymore. She was not this sunshine anymore. She was just another character, just like Cordelia. To be honest, it was very hard to differentiate between Lucy and Cordelia at many times, because both of them kind of have the same kind of characteristics. So there was not much difference. And Jessie and her relationship was okay. It was nothing great. It was I do not know. It was okay. Nothing great about that. It was not as dull as James and Cordelia, but it was nothing great too. It was like so. I like the fact that Cordelia and Lucy went to save James and Matthew in the whatever the hell name is, idiom, or I do not remember. So they went there and to save them. So that was the part I actually liked. I also liked the ending. It was not bad. I liked how Belial actually died. There was also epilogue. It was okay for me. But anyway, each and every character in this book are wasted. Nothing happened. Nothing actually great happened. This book was 500 pages too long. To be honest, I do not actually know what actually happened throughout the book. The last part, the last few chapters, the whole battle scene when Belial actually comes to London and he takes over everything, that was the only part that was actually interesting. But the characters, they were a big letdown. So I'm just really disappointed with the series. It started with a bang and it ended with I do not even know what the term of that is. I'm gonna give this book 2 stars out of 5 because it was a really struggle to actually finish it. So 2 stars I think is appropriate. Do let me know in the comments down below what thoughts you have about this book. Do you like it? Do you not like it? There are any particular scene that you love, or there's any particular scene that you hated? And I will see you next week. Do not forget to subscribe. Have a great day.